Well, Bruce, I hope we're live, or I'm able to be in two places at once. I'm not really sure, but hopefully we are. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Well, maybe not. Anyway, happy May long weekend. It is Victoria Day long weekend here in Canada, and we usually celebrate May 2-4 like it's the last party on Earth. And I will say I have lots of fond memories of May 24, May 24. Usually it was out fishing. Usually I was heading up somewhere because it was walleye opener somewhere. But yeah, I always loved May 24. I don't. It was the beginning of the summer. That's what it reminded me of, and it was just nice because of that extra day, and hopefully you had some good weather. Not exactly the kind of weather we were hoping for out this way, but it didn't stop quite a few people from getting out. Nice to see some CFNers out fishing. Dave Speaker's out hooking some hog eyes. Beautiful fish, Dave. Nicely done, my friend. And of course, Jeremy. I don't know where he finds the time when he's not looking after himself, his daughter, and various other people via his job and who he cooks for. Somehow he finds a chance to get out and hook a toothy critter or three. Nice to see you out, Jeremy. And of course, this gentleman always seems to find time to fish. Bill Landry, how you doing, buddy? Always a pleasure to have you with us, around us, joining us, and pumping our tires, showing off the swag. It is a true honor, Bill. And you had a very, very busy weekend. Nice to see you out as well. And of course, our good buddy Joe Vitani. This was his first weekend out. He was up at the French River. So for all those who are heading to the French River, the walleye are biting, or at least one was. Well done, Joe. Beautiful fish, buddy. Nice to see you in the swag as well. We got Jackson Price. He was out hooking a bow or two. Nice to see him as well. And of course, the one and only Chuck Durach. Oh, why won't the picture come up? There it is. There we go. Chuck, baby. Yes, sir. Hooking some smallies. Nice to see you, Chuck. Again, another one that I'm not really sure how he finds the time, but he did on this day. And probably one of my favorite picks of this weekend. Alex Henry and his granddaughter. Generations of awesomeness. Abso-freaking-lutely. Well, listen, I hope everybody has enjoyed what is left of the May 2-4 or perhaps the Friday, Saturday. Maybe you had a long weekend. Maybe you took the Friday off too. If you were, you're obviously smarter than I. And you've had yourself a great weekend. The weather hasn't been exactly the greatest, but it hasn't been bad, especially out here in Ontario. I don't know what it's like out west. I know in Manitoba they're fighting fires. I saw a couple posts where folks were dealing with forest fire smoke, but needless to say, it's just nice to see folks out and enjoying the outdoors. Let's say hello to a few people that are with us. Tony, nice to see you as always, Tony. Thanks for all the tagging. Hopefully you win one of those prizes for free, dude, that you've tagged me in. Steven's in the house. Nice to see you. Joe, there you are, buddy. Nice to see you as well. Steve Shaw did a fantastic photo edit for May long weekend, as he always does. And we're really thankful that he does that for us, for our community. But it was awesome stuff, Steve, and keep up the great work. I know things are very busy in the inbox right now because I've seen a few get launched there. If you are interested in being promoted on CFN, if you want one of your fish picks, whether it's yourself or someone you know, highlighted, featured, by all means, just go over to our Facebook page, click the message button, and it's pretty easy from there. You just submit the photo or the video and a little bit of a story of where you're from, the significance of the catch, maybe what you were using if you want to, or perhaps maybe even the lake or water body that you caught it in. I think it's awesome if you do, and it just connects us a little bit more. Folks can say, "Oh, I've heard of that lake." Maybe you're not from Ontario, maybe you're not from Saskatchewan, and you hear of a lake of fish that it was caught on. I've been meaning to take that off the old bucket list. So just it basically connects our community in a way that we get to know where each of you are. That's the cool thing. Cam McIntosh is in the house. Of course, their season has started for those who are looking to book a trip to a unique one-stop shop up, not that far up north, but far enough north for the fishing to be freaking awesome. By all means, reach out to Tracy, and Andre will guide you in. But Tracy will take your booking, and of course, there are spots available. So, Camp Macintosh, thanks for joining us tonight. And for all those who are going to join Camp Macintosh this season, thanks for the support. Really appreciate it. Richard Dunlop's been a busy man. Speaking of which, you saw all of that wonderful swag that we were sharing. Love to see our folks out pumping our tires, but having a great day on the water and hooking a fish or three. I think it's awesome. Rich, you keep up the great work, my friend. Lloyd's in the house. Nice to see you, Lloyd, as always. And, of course, Bob Bisonet, who I believe you got out this past weekend, too, if I'm not mistaken. Jeremy, yep. I just saying hello while you're at work. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know where he finds the time, but he did, and we're glad he did. Yes, absolutely. Bugs, rain, bonfires. That's May 2-4. That is what I remember May 2-4. Make sure you got the bug repellent. Make sure you bring a raincoat, because guaranteed she's gonna get wet. And of course the bonfires. Make sure you bring the freaking marshmallows. Fernando's, nice to see you, buddy. I'm fairly certain you got out this past weekend. And for all those who did, I really appreciate the fact that you share it with us. And including myself, so that we can live vicariously through you. Jim was asking me just before we went live, what did you get done? Nothing super productive where I can say, holy crap, look at this. But a lot of stuff behind the scenes that needs to get done and needs to get addressed. That is what I've been busy this weekend, and I was so thankful of having the extra day, because I get to join the Monday with you folks, and really appreciate it. Jay's with us. Nice to see you. Adrian, Big Ugly, I'm still in the French. You lucky dog. Brad's in the house. How you doing, Brad? He's been busy. Another one that's been busy this weekend. Jim Fowler's with us. Oh, look at all you folks. Love this. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Don't forget the beers. Don't forget the yes. That was a staple back in the day, but as you might imagine. No, just kidding. But nice to have you. Of course, happy Victoria Day long weekend. It is the one that we celebrate each and every year in the month of May. Look forward to it each and every year, because it is the beginning of our fishing season. It really it's the shotgun start of our fishing season for those who aren't as hardcore as some. If you're out like Jay Barnucz, or you're out like Fernando or Bill Landry, and you're out that god awful weather, because you have a passion that is at a level that's not at the rest of ours. We're enamored by it. Truly, I am. I admire everybody that's able to do it. But if you can't, and you do what I do, which is live vicariously through the Bills, the Fernandos, or anybody else, the Lukes. I mean, there's a whole host of folks. Jim Fowler's, Joe Vitani's. We really appreciate it. So thank you for that. As I said, it allows us to get through each and every week if we're not able to get out and wet a line. It is our 10th anniversary. For those who don't know, we are commemorating it in so many freaking ways. Love the fact that you guys are along with us, especially here on our Monday Night Lives, as we always do. If you're interested in wearing some swag and pumping the tires and supporting the community that you are a part of, that you don't have to pay to be a part of, we'd love to throw this on your back. That's the man there to call, Richard Dunlop. He is willing to take your order as we speak. Of course, we have our commemorative CFN jersey. This is a one-shot deal. Once the year is up, this particular jersey will become a collector's item, and all the proceeds for these jerseys are going directly toward our Derby on Wheels. And for those who are aware of the Derby on Wheels, thank you for that. We're going to be doing a post, putting a really cool post together, so that it explains what it is that it represents and what it could mean to your community if, in fact, you want to employ the services of the Derby on Wheels. I'm really proud of it, because it's something that I've always wanted myself, and especially our CFN community, as a part of our legacy. At the end of the day, what do you want to be known for? Getting folks into fishing. Getting folks fishing. That's truly all it is. That's all we want it to be, and making sure that they do it ethically as well as legally, and thinking about others. So catch and release is kind of important. Ethical fishing, selective harvest, all that goes along with it. But the Derby on Wheels is something that I'm really, really proud of, because it's going to be able to provide the means to your needs, to your wishes and wants. If you have some kids, you have a marina that you have access to, a community center, or a park, and you want to hold an event next year, we're going to be the folks that hopefully you'll be able to call. We're going to be able to provide you 200 strong rod and reels. We'll have a fridge on board to hold all the meat for cooking, as well as all the worms. As I mentioned, we'll have a cooktop that's been donated by Enbridge. We'll have the means to broadcast to the community that's there at your event, as well as a Starlink to broadcast to the masses beyond the event. So for all those that are interested, please, we'd love to have you a part of it, and we'd love for the message to be pushed, shared, promoted, or just echoed. If there's somebody out there that has thought about this, or is interested in something like this, or has been held back because of not having the means, hopefully CFN will be there in a big way to help you out. We got lots to talk about tonight, but again, it is a Monday, so I have a wonderful announcement to make. There are only 2 beds. That's right, only 2 beds available at Horwood Lake between the days of the 10th and the 16th. That is our 7th annual CFN retreat up at Horwood Lake Lodge. Really looking forward to it this year. The price had to go up, as everything else in this world is going up, but the fact that it's still under $1,000, and you get your meals, you get your boat rental, you get shared accommodations, fuel, bait, and a nightly fish fry included in all that. It's not a bad deal, man. It's not a bad deal at all. Love to have you up there. Please get a hold of Warren and Doris. If you are one of the 2 that would like to book the last 2 beds, you're going to be sleeping with Richard and I. Bring earplugs. That's all I could say. And of course, it is Victoria Day Monday. What would a Monday be without a Monster Monday shout out? And of course, this will be our 4th annual OFC Nation retreat at Camp McIntosh, September 24th to the 28th. There is still room available. If you are interested in partaking, please get a hold of Andre and Tracy. We're going to be doing a lot of promotional videos upcoming, so that if you aren't able to make the retreat, but you'd still be interested in, experiencing McIntosh, again, join us each Monday so that you can share in videos like this to whet your appetite. Okay, McIntosh it is, and please make sure you get a hold of Andre and Tracy. If you can't make the retreat, they'd love to have you up there. And as I said, it's an experience. Camp McIntosh is an experience. If you like big water fishing with a small water aspect to it as well, you'll have blow days, but which means you can't get out to some of the larger islands or further out islands, but it doesn't mean you can't fish. I mean, within eyesight of the dock, right at the lodge, some of the best fishing is right at Dulles Rapids. So if you're interested in experiencing French River fishing, that is right at the mouth of where the French River flows into Georgian Bay. And when I say that, you'll understand why I'm saying it. the multitude of species of fish that are available to you, tough one to pass up. I know I can't. That's why I go every year. Anyway, love to see you there. Love to see some of the pics that you guys share, and love to have you up at our 4th annual OFC Nation retreat. But if you can't and you still want to make it, again, reach out to Andre and Tracy. We got Big Jim coming up after a word. Well, actually, not a word from his sponsor, but probably one of the best openings I've ever put together.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
Yo, yo.
There he is, the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin. How you doing, Jim?
Well, my knee feels a bit better. I didn't need that to happen, eh?
So what was it? Did something?
I was just walking and I did a little wobble and it just aggravated. It's been like 4 years. And this has been beside me ever since it happened, eh?
I mean, it was inevitable to see you have to use that on a regular basis, Jim. I was expecting that, but it was sad to hear that you had to use it so quickly, and certainly unexpectedly. What were you doing that tweaked the knee?
I was walking.
That's it?
Yeah. But I'll tell you, the pain in my knee got so bad at one point that I forgot about the spine shit.
Wow.
So I noticed today, I was getting some breakfast this morning. When I got back, I had to go to Ottawa this morning. So I met up with a buddy of mine, Brian Pollock, and we went for a ride together and chatted. We hadn't been together for a couple of months. So we just did a little run together, and I met him in Smith Falls there. And he was mentioning it to me, and I got home, it was about 11 o'clock there, and I went and got some yogurt and berries. And it was funny, I was standing in front of the fridge and I thought to myself, oh, this is good, because the pain from my spine was hurting really bad. So I knew the pain in my knee wasn't as bad. But I have some special anti-inflammatories I keep there that I can take when it happens. They're pretty potent things. Like I don't have a pain anywhere in my body right now, except for my knee a bit.
Good.
And I know it's taking the inflammation down. I can feel when you hold your hand on it, the heat's gone. So yeah, I just gave it a little torque, eh?
Jeez.
But that was it. I hit that knee twice in less than a year, eh? Because I had when Buddy the dog there cut me down in the stairs here, and my leg actually locked. It was backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like when your knee locks, and you're looking at your knee and it's back, not forward, you know. And then Danny fixed me, got me through all that and helped me with Warren, the chiropractor, and everything else, and his wife, and they got it all fixed up. And then when I took the flip with the fishing line between my shoelaces, I hit that knee again. That's why all the scars are on it. But I didn't seem to do any damage to it. But oh well, it's at least we know it's still working, and it was much better this afternoon. So I think it just got to the point where it's the inflammation's gone. It's been 5 days since I did it, so 6 days usually takes those things about a week to sort themselves out if they're gonna. So it appears to be going the right way. It's good too, because I got to go to the TV station in Kingston tomorrow and tape a segment about the Kids Cops and Canadian Tire Fishing Day here.
Sweet.
So, yeah, I want to get that in all the time. That'll be huge. If anybody wants to come, you're welcome.
Absolutely. It's basically a little less than a month away.
Yeah, June 7th.
June 7th.
Things on. I supposed to go to breakfast with my high school buddies on June 7th, so I had to scrap that. And I was supposed to be out in Rockland, over toward Montreal, with the Shimano with their on-site tech band type deal again that they have.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Lee about it, and then all of a sudden I got the poster, and the people that made the poster had changed the name on the poster and already put it out there, or changed the date. So I asked why you changed the date. They said, "Oh, well, we didn't want it to be the first."
Okay. Okay.
It's not like July 1st, it wasn't. And even if it was, that'd be even better.
Yeah.
So you hold things like that. But whatever it is, it's done, and we'll do it. It'll all be good. So
Right on.
I'm ready to go. Had a good weekend. Got a lot of odds and ends done here because I was not going anywhere.
And you mentioned you've been spending a little time out back, and you've been
Yeah.
noticing a lot of the wildlife returning.
Oh, like I told you the other night, Saturday night when I went out, it was wild. So I get down there and I'm sitting there, and like it grows in so early now. I had memories come up the other day of me down there crappie fishing using the little eye prop, the spy
Yeah,
bait,
yeah.
and catching really nice crappies with it. They're like that's like a sleeper for crappies, absolute sleeper. And I'm down there, and it's all the memories come up. I got all these nice slabs, they're like 12, 13, some of them getting close to, but not over 14 inches. But now it's growing in so much. It just seems to be since in the last 4 or 5 years here that I think it's a runoff from the fields.
Mhm.
I noticed when we moved here at first, they weren't planting the fields over here, and I think it's the amount of fertilizer that runs in, and it just blows up in the springtime. Like you could be dunking out there right now.
I was listening to a guide up. I want to say he's up in the Muskoka, maybe Georgian Bay area, and he was saying how shallow the crappie were. At least this past week. I don't know if they were this weekend for those who were
Oh,
fishing.
yeah, it depends. It's like a lot of places they've gone to start to spawn because I see people showing the pictures of them and they're really black, and that's when they're actively spawning. As they call it, putting their suits on, eh?
Right, right.
They turn that actively black. But anyways, I went down there the other night. I got a chair there, punked my butt in it, didn't fall in the lake, and God, the water had gone down too because it had gone down a few inches because you'd had to sit with your feet in the water to be on the edge, and that's a pain in the butt going up with wet feet every night. But anyways, I'm sitting there and I brought down a little rod. I have it in the truck still there with a slip float on it and a little weenie little fluke thing that Northland makes. I've always liked. Oh, it's my secret bait. No, something that just seems to work. So I'm catching pumpkin seeds and bluegills. All of a sudden I load up and I lift up on it. And when the bobber went down, like it went down under the water and it's just going like this, eh? And like
Wow.
that's the mark of a bigger crappie. They just take it and swim, eh? So I set the hook on it and I thought, whoa, this is, I thought it was a bass. It was a really nice crappie. It's the only one that I got. It was probably like 14 inches. And the water's so high, I didn't have to lift it. I just pulled it up on the grass. And I'm in my pocket getting my phone. I don't want to drop my phone because the water's all wet. So I get the phone turned on. I got the rod under my arm. The fish is sitting there. I bend down to pick it up. And it just rolls over and swims away. I'm
Wow.
like, I almost fell in the lake going for it. I'm like, come here.
Wow.
But I wasn't worried about that. The cool thing about the night was I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I look in the water and I see a bowfin go by. And it's probably like, it's not 10 pounds, but it's every bit of 8, 9, it's like I poked it in the tail with the rod. And
Wow.
it sort of went about 2 feet and just sort of looked back as much to say, don't touch me. Like it didn't just disappear. I'm sitting there and I'm catching pumpkin seeds, and here comes 2 more. There was nothing as big as this one. There was some that were maybe 4 or 5 pounds, but I mean, they're like 6, 8 feet from my eyes in the water. They're right there, right?
Yeah.
They're going by. Then all of a sudden, this giant snapper, a really big one, he swims by. There was other turtles, painted turtles. They were chasing each other around. I guess it's Saturday night in the country, and it's that time of the year for them. But there was turtles out there. The beaver made a couple of rounds in the little bay there beside me. There was muskrat in there, and then the otter came from the far side, came right across to me, and got about, I don't know, 20 feet from me. And it was bobbing up in the water like this. And I talked to it and it'd come a bit closer, whatever I'll say. But
Jeez, are you sure you're not building an ark back there? All these animals showing up?
It was like Wild Kingdom. It was so cool when you think of it, like that's like adjacent to your house. Like I didn't, the way it's right there. It's like
Yeah.
you're on the water. Just a little bit of a walk to it, it's that kind of thing. It's not like you went down the secret path and we're out at the edge of a swamp where there's nobody, I mean, this is like 200 feet from the town dock, the town boat launch. There's all that Mother Nature right underneath your nose. So it's really cool.
And you know what? It's cool that you notice it. And I think maybe, when we were younger, we didn't appreciate it. We may have noticed it, just didn't appreciate it as much. But now as you get older, things like that, I mean, I know there's small things, but they're huge to folks like us. That when we love the outdoors, some of the smallest things can be the biggest.
Well, I told a buddy of mine the other day, Gary, he's way older than me too. Like I think he's coming to 80. And I told him, and he was just like, he was lit up like a Christmas tree just hearing about it, you know? And it's true. When you get older, little things mean a lot more.
You do.
Like, you know, the old phrase about stopping to smell the roses? You tend to do that a lot more now. I was down there one night about 2 weeks ago, and I realized I'm sitting in a chair, and I hadn't brought the fishing rod out of the truck with me.
Wow.
I was just sitting there. It was like glass calm. It was just like, it was like heaven, eh? And it's just really, really cool. So it's neat to be out there and see all that stuff. And you know, like you've heard me comment so many times about how I managed to catch fish sitting in a lawn chair down there. It's because you stay there. You're catching every fish that's available to you.
Yeah.
And I was never in a rush if I thought there was fish around, but down here you have no choice because I can't move. What do? Move my lawn chair 10 feet to the left. You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying a new spot. I'll move over by the boathouse. No, but it's like it's just, you know, really, really different. And that's where that sitting and looking. It's amazing what you see. You know, you happen to look down. A couple of times it happened the other night. I looked down and all I caught was the movement of the weeds because something had spooked. And when they took off, you know, their tails swishing the water and the weed is under the water just going like this, just moving, you know. So you know that something, your movement, whether you were casting or whatever, your movement over top of them spooked them, eh?
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch stuff like that. But no, I'm blessed to have that down there. I'm really happy. So
very cool.
What it is.
It is what it is, and probably the best way to sum up. Now that the playoffs are over for some teams, you know, the Ottawa Senators bowed out in the first round, and you know, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan or even Montreal Canadian that also bowed out in the first round, we feel for you because we weren't too far behind you, but it's over.
I was telling one of the guys last night, Jackson was hounding the Leaf fans, like big time, like it was like he was borderline, he was really at it,
Yeah.
And one of the guys said, "Yeah, well, your Senators have been fishing for 2 weeks." And I told the guy, I said, "Hey," I said, "settle down for a second. We already took our lumps there, tough guy." I said, "It's our turn now. Don't change the topic."
Well, here's the difference. Okay,
couple of overtime games, and we could have been there. Not
100%. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to sort of, you know, make sure we're aware of. You know, the Senators bowed out. You know, everybody was clapping. They were very happy for the year that they've had. Very supportive. You know, we lose, and all of a sudden now we got to clean your house. Like everybody's got to go.
Last night there was a clip I watched that it was the time on the clock in the rink was 10:23 or 10:43. It was 10 something. The time on the clock, and the stairs were filled with number 34s and number whatever, I don't know, all the Leaf players, number 16, because it was the back of the shirts. The people going up the stairs, they were actually stopped. There was so many leaving.
Yeah.
At the end, it was really sad, and that's the difference. That I don't know, the fans in Toronto are just different. There's something about it, you know. They've grown up like that. I don't know whether it's the big money that they pay money and they get, you know, huge bucks, so they get really pissed and they leave earlier, or what it is, you know. But then I got some buddies that are like staunch fans. They like just absolutely staunch. I was talking to a few of them today, just like, and you know, total wow, like, you know, you're ready to go next year already. You're already talking to, you know, and that's what a real fan is, eh?
I have to say, you know, not that I'm a diehard fan or anybody that you just suggested, but I do love hockey. I do follow it, and I have to say, yeah, I'm a sucker for punishment. I've been a Maple Leaf fan for as far back as I can remember. This year, at the conclusion, I would have to say the last thing I was thinking about is, oh boy, will we get to do this all again next year? I was probably very similar to a lot of folks. I in Game 5 after they scored the third goal, I shut the TV off, and I did the same thing again this past Game 7. Third goal went in, and I was just like, no, and that's not a true fan. But it also shows how many years. I tried to explain this to my daughter, how
Yeah.
many years we've been waiting.
Your whole life.
We've been waiting our whole life for
Yep.
something like this to happen, and we're told every single year, this is going to be the year, this is going to be the year. And when it's not, I don't know how much more disappointed you need to be to show your displeasure.
It's the curse of Harold Ballard. I don't care what anybody says. He put books on those guys, and yikes. You know, I mean, I was surprised to see a certain member of the NHL that's got he's got 2 Stanley Cup rings, and when Marner took his little rant last night with his helmet was off, and I forget what it is, but you can read his lips. He says it perfectly about whatever it is. Get off your axes or whatever it is. He says that. He went on and he said, you're not allowed to make a comment like that when your hair is still dry. Because his hair wasn't soaking wet. As people don't realize, under those helmets, their hair is dripping sweat. If they're really out there playing. And this guy's got 2 Stanley Cup rings to his name. And he went on and posted that on the thing. And I went, oh, just like that,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You know, and it's easy. Like at the end of the day, people can say what they want. Obviously, you know, that Jay just mentioned Toronto fans are terrible. I don't think they're all terrible, but I do know what you mean, Jay. There are some that unfortunately take it way too far, and you have to appreciate the game before you can be a true fan of the sport. And I will have to say that I learned hockey through the Toronto Maple Leafs. My kids played hockey. You know, they became Toronto Maple Leaf fans because of me. Yep. And you know, it is what it is. And I apologize to them all the time. My sincerest apologize. I wish I could have cheered for another team, but I just couldn't back in the 80s, back in the 90s. And then they started to give us glimmers of hope, you know, in the 2000s. And it's not to say it's been a complete debacle, but it's the old insanity thing. You know, when you do the same thing over and over, Jim, as you've mentioned a million times, and you get the same result. Like when do you finally punch your ticket and say, okay, we're done. Like enough of this.
And it's like, you know, every time they go on a losing streak, you see all the people on there, the ones that are always like this constantly. Oh, fire the coach, do this, do that. Well, how many coaches have you had? Oh, we need to bring back the tough guys. Well, how many tough guys have you had in the last 25 years? And you still didn't win a Stanley Cup. You've had guys in there that were some of the best fighters in the league.
Yep.
And you still didn't win anything. And, you know, having fighters on your team, you really think it bothers a guy that plays professional hockey to get punched in the face when it all comes down to it? You know what it's like to get hit by a puck going 90 miles an hour? I've had it happen. It's not fun. You know, you ski around and snicker, and if there was no one there, you'd be on the ice crying like a soccer fan. You just, you know, or a soccer player. I mean, you just they don't realize that.
For me, it's all about teamwork, and the sense of team. And I will say the Ottawa Senators showed us, I would say, a better example of that during the playoffs than we did in this past round. I'd like to say even the Montreal Canadiens showed a lot more of that than perhaps we did. And when I say that, again, you know, there's a barbaric part of hockey that's just the game. It's just, if you understand the game, you just understand it for what it is. And unfortunately, when your goalie gets removed, I don't care if it was a light tap or if it was, you drank too much at a party. If someone did that to your goalie, you don't just lay back. And that's the part that I couldn't understand. This individual, that goalie Stoller, is the reason you got to where you were, and was probably your hope of winning that playoff series, if not the Stanley Cup. And when he went down and nothing happened, that's when
it wasn't one of those things. It wasn't a big vicious hit. I don't even think most guys never realized. It was more like a brush than anything else. Like, he didn't go like this. He just went by him. When he got hit in the face there a few minutes before with the puck going 80, 90 miles an hour, that's what caused the problem. It was the puck. You know, because I mean, he was dizzy. He should have. They even said that about the protocol for concussion. They messed up on that.
Yeah.
When you get hit like that with a puck in the face, like, you know, I had one once go off the top of my helmet playing with the guys that long time after I wasn't playing hockey much or anything. It just went, and it wasn't even a vicious shot. And it went off the side of my helmet, just at the top. They just skidded off the back corner.
Yeah.
And for about 15 minutes, Scottie, I wasn't thinking straight. I went and sat on the bench. A couple of them actually came and talked to me. And I don't know whether I got a concussion from that, because when it was gone, it was gone. But it happens really easy. Sometimes it doesn't take much. But most of the time when it happens, it's because you get popped.
Mm-hmm.
And an 80, 90 mile an hour puck in the face,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot.
It is. It is. And at the end of the day, whether it was the puck to the head or if it was the nudge by Bennett, at the end of a lot less had to happen back in the day for people to assert themselves, for teams to show their support of one another. And I take this back. I'm dating myself, so again, I know we're supposed to be talking fishing, but this is one aspect of team play that I truly admire. And I'll have to say, this is where it all began for me when it comes to falling apart. Nick Kypreos used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nick Kypreos went into Chicago Stadium and unfortunately got an elbow to the nose by a then tough guy, Jim Cummins. His shirt, do you remember this? His face was a mess. He went in, got a brand new jersey, had his face reconstructed, put on a visor, whatever he had to do, and got himself back out there. Nick Kypreos' next shift went after Jim Cummins and fought him again. The only problem is unfortunately he couldn't see because his eyes were all swollen from the broken nose from before, and his reward for stepping up and defending himself, he got hit again in the face, and there was now even more blood all over the place. And no one stood up for him. No one jumped in. No one did anything. And I said from that point, and I keep saying it, if we don't start sticking up for our teammates in Toronto, we're never going to win as a team. You're never going to win as individuals. It's just never going to happen. And I have to say, I know it was a minor thing, but people have asked, if Stollard was in the net, would this be a different series? Well, I guess we're never going to know now, are we? And what happened to Bennett? Like nothing. Anyway, that's the barbaric side of the sport, but it also sends a message.
After him, and somebody went after him in a game or two later, and he beat the crap out of him.
And there's that.
So it's that's what it is. You sort of even if that was supposed to be the sort of settling of the feud, then he
George, my apologies, my friend. Trust me, we will ramp it up from here on. That is the limit to what we're going to talk about when it comes to hockey. For all those who are
two competitive guys having a rant.
Yeah, my condolences to you, but to the Senator and Canadian fans who are probably saying, "Yeah, well, you know what? We know all about it. So what are you so sad for?"
We beat you to the good fishing spots too.
Exactly. So something that we can be proud of is what happened with our good buddy Coop. But as you mentioned before we went live, Jim, it wasn't just Coop that was up there. It almost seemed that every single Canadian was.
They had a really good weekend. So Cooper came sixth. He got $11,000 for that US, so that's about 3 million Canadian. So that's pretty good. Chris came 13th. He got $7K. Gussie was 26. He got 5,500. Our buddy who we had on, Greg De Palma, came 21st, and he got $6,000. The nice thing about it is Cooper moved up to 28th in the standings for the Classic, so he was way out. He's back in now. Chris is sitting second for Angler of the Year again.
No way.
So this is setting up for him to win Angler of the Year again, coming back here, right?
Wow.
Because he's gonna, he's not back here yet, but when they do get back up this way for the smallmouths, you have to figure he's gonna finish strong. But I wrote those down just to be sure I got them. So that's pretty cool. I like it.
Cool too, because there was a certain aspect of a certain video that was shared by Bassmaster that I'm going to share now, and Coop kind of took a page out of your book at one point during the weekend. Jim, have a look.
Give this about 20 minutes.
Hear that fish?
My fish would have been bigger though.
I knew you were gonna say that.
That might keep.
Hey, that was a good one that they went through down there. That's tough fishing.
It was. Yeah. When he was getting that excited about a fish like that, you know how
That's a
tough.
keeper, number 1. Switching it up this morning.
See, a lot of people don't
Fishing
realize
close to the ramp.
if they went fishing, people that are watching right now, if they went fishing there and they went there for the week, they went
Not the girl, but we'll take her for now.
It's tough.
Yeah. So the cool thing about what the video was right here when he says it, he decided to fish close to where to the ramp where they were releasing the fish, which
Close to the ramp.
close to the ramp. And I'm right away when I heard that, I'm like, that's a page out of Jim's book.
I always used to do that. I won a lot of money. I won my second Canadian championship in Aurelia, and I never got far enough away from the town dock that if I would have screamed, you would have heard me.
Wow.
As the crow flies. Yeah.
Someone else that we would probably hear scream if this happened to you, and this is another one of these public service announcements, Jim, it is boating season, and there's a lot of do's and don'ts. And one thing that I see happen on the regular, and I totally understand when you have a bunk trailer that you love that ability to, just to back up, launch, have it float away, and then pull out all in one motion. But there's an aspect that you need to remember, and believe it or not, no, it's not the plug, it's the safety chain. When that line lets go on your crank, you have to have a steel safety chain, and when you don't, this is what happens. As you can see, cable lets go, and
that's a tilt trailer too, I think.
So you see it dangling there, but it's basically the mount rope that mounts to the eyelet at the bow of the boat. It snaps, the tilt trailer tips back because of the weight, the shock, and then she just runs off the trailer. Now, thankfully, he had his engines up, because if he had his engines down, and we've seen enough of those videos, definitely.
I'll tell you one thing with trailers like that, when you back up too, is being really careful with your ratchet.
Yeah.
When the boat's under pressure, I've seen guys somehow get enough pressure to unhook the ratchet, and then they can't hold it because the weight of the boat pull it. And when that ratchet starts to go around backwards, it'll knock you, it'll take your fingers off your hand. Like, it's wild the way they go around. I never had it happen, but yikes.
I had it happen, unfortunately, with my wife, who was able to get out of the way just in time, but you did hear that it hit her pretty good. So yeah, great service announcement.
Here's what I spent a lot of time doing on the weekend.
Tying. But that's all I saw you doing. Every post, either you were down by the river or you were tying.
Came up with something really cool looking.
Sweet.
It's avocado with black. The tips are black.
Of course it is.
Like fire tip.
That is pumpkin
I've never seen that done before. I bought it in a box of stuff that I got. And then Pete Blossoman from Dad's in there. Some of the stuff we tied, he got back to work on it this morning, putting the over the thread.
Sweet.
The plastic on and rotating it until it goes hard,
Wow.
The Dad's and symbol. So he's gonna come up with something monster with that. Him and Johnny both have a whole bunch of stuff right now. And then the cool thing for him, I was feeling bad today. All the memories coming up with the dog, Buddy. And here's one of my granddaughters with Bella. You can just see her eyes sticking out from underneath the blankets, and Buddy's upside down, just enjoying himself. You can see, look, all you see is the eyes.
Yeah.
Looking up. And she's got the other one. She went to her first prom the other night. She lives in Calgary. Wow. She went to her first prom. But every time I see the dogs like that, I sort of feel bad.
Wow.
I miss them.
Yeah, we totally get that, Jim. And
that's the poster for them.
Wish we could bring them back. Yeah, June 7th. There you go.
There it is right there. See, they changed it to Kids, Cops, and Canadian Tire Fishing Days.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And
so we're going to see a few more we're going to see a few more officers down at the event.
I had no idea. I talked to Joey there, the guy that was there, the smaller guy, the OPP guy with all the tats. He's going to be out again, and hopefully Zane will come out too. The other guys, if he's on duty, and
Cool.
he said come. Even if he wasn't, he said I can just grab a car and come down. Because it's
Sweet.
not that far away. He's just on the edge of where it becomes Kingston, not Brockville. There's a dividing. I guess it's Highway 15.
Right,
It's the
right.
dividing line where they cover. Yeah. So
And Jay's asking, is that a special Shimano phone case that you have there, Jim?
no, it's just blue, and I put a sticker on it.
In other words, yes, it is. You can't get them anywhere. Something you can get everywhere, and I think this is something for those who have live wells.
Here's the turtles. I don't know whether I can get it. It's not going to show them, eh?
No.
There, see them?
I see one of them. Yeah.
You can see one swimming around.
Yeah.
That's the lady, I think. But that little things like that out the back when you sit and watch that 10 feet away from you, and you see the weed, the way it's right up, and the water's still high too. Like it's probably 5.5 feet deep off the end of the dock there. 5 feet deep where it's usually about 4.
So something very cool for live wells. If you have a live well and you're looking for, how do I clean this out? How do I disinfect it? How do I do it and not harm the fish? This is a great old remedy. It works like a charm too.
Labatt's 50.
Getting them live wells clean. A little trick you don't know. Distilled white vinegar. That stuff does wonders on your live wells.
It sure does. And it's already diluted enough, usually right out of the bottle. It's not concentrated.
So you just pour some on and let it run around?
Let it run around. Yeah. And believe it or not, it'll take the scum. Once you get all the water back out of it, you just take a cloth and you literally just wipe the grime. It's unreal how well it works. So definitely a good one. George is mentioning that the water temps are starting to get up there on in, I guess, FFZ 10 and 11. I will say it's Lake Nipissing, but I'm not 100% sure where George is mentioning, but nice to see that the bass are plumping up. Nice to see.
I like awesome. That word. It's got a ring to it, plump.
Yes. It's I resemble that comment. No, I'm kidding. I do. Of course I do. Jim, as always, buddy, I can't thank you enough for all of your time. And I know.
Sorry for us getting off onto being TSN here.
No, and I think everybody's been talking about it. You see it on Facebook, like everybody's talking about it. So, we're Canadian anglers, and hockey is part of fishing. I don't care what anybody says. If you fish, most likely you watch hockey. At least in Canada, you do anyway. So it goes hand in hand, and how can you not talk about it? All I will say is it's sad to see all the Canadian teams out, except for the Edmonton Oilers, and go Oilers, go. That's about all I can say.
I think they'll go to the final. I think they'll find in their stride.
So yep,
find in their stride. So
I think so too, buddy. Anyway, you take care of yourself. Hopefully, your knee gets a little bit better, and we look.
Everybody be safe out there. See you all next week.
Yeah, baby. Right on. We have Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor, because Lawrence is not here tonight, and Jim's probably going to have a word with him.
Memo in his file.
Just kidding. Right on, Jim. You take care of yourself, bud.
Be good, guys.
Peace.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
They sure can, but they will not change the outcome of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Unfortunately, Jay.
Oh yeah, the Leafs.
At all? Do we even want to talk hockey? No.
Well, I'll be honest. What happened last night? So we'll talk about my weekend up at Nipissing with the boys. But so I was pretty tired after 3 long days, and I watched the first period. It was 0-0, right? And then, I'm like sitting there in the rented cottage, and I'm kind of like half asleep. Like, okay, come on, boys, get it together. And then it was 3-0 after 2, and the energy just left. And I'm like, I got to drive 6 hours tomorrow. So I said to Trevor and Owen and Jeff Penner, I said, boys, wake me up if they win. This old man's going to bed. I've been here before. And sure enough, I woke up. I said to Owen, did I miss anything? You didn't miss anything, Jay. So there you go.
So true, dude.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And for anybody who follows a team, who has followed a team for as long as some of us have, and it was shocking for my daughter to hear, like, oh, you've gone through a few of these. I said, oh, Aaron, my good Lord, yes. This is, we don't usually get this close, mind you, but we've been through a lot of these these heartbreaks.
Like, it sucks. I'll admit, I'm not a fair weather Leafs fan, but I've been a Leafs fan my whole life. And during the years where I've watched them when they're terrible, but during the years when they're good or playing good, it's almost more frustrating, right? And so I feel bad for a lot of friends who are fanatical about them. And I made a comment to a buddy yesterday. I said, I'm not going to go on social media for a while because I thought the election was bad. I don't want to go on social media after the Leafs lose another playoff year. So, because it's not nice. It is not nice out there. So I might lay low from the socials for a while, especially Facebook, till things slow down. I give it at least a week before guys change their mind. So,
well, this is it. I don't think for some it's even sunk in yet. Unfortunately, the disappointment, it cuts very, very hard and deep. And for those who are, as I said, true fans, you're probably still mourning. But regardless of that, that'll be it for hockey. We won't be talking any more hockey unless Edmonton goes a little bit further into the playoffs, and we dedicate a night that they're playing off just to support them. But we missed you last week, Jay. We wanted to talk, of course, about 'tis the season, and it is the annual Pike Derby down in Long Point. Do you know some of the winners, some of the top 3 teams?
I don't know them personally, but a lot of the winners are they're annual participants. But I'm not going to say they do well. The Pike tournament's a funny one because it's catch and release. It's 2 fish only. So when they come in, it's a good chance that you catch one giant like that one there and a small one to follow. Like, not that second pike is not small. It's still a good sized pike.
Yeah.
With only 2 fish limit, anyone can really win the event. Right. So it makes it interesting. I like it because it allows others to win. It's not dominated by, if you had to catch 5 big ones. I remember doing the Lake Muskoka one a few times over the years, and it's tougher to be consistent in that event. But with this one, it's a little more of a roll the dice, which I think is good when you have a real mix of I'm going to say, like, experience levels in this event, right? You got old guys and their wives that have been fishing Long Point Bay their whole life, and you get people who just come down for the heck of it. And we get people from all over. That event attracted a lot of people. The weather was the wind was a little much out of the west.
Yeah.
But the sun was shining. It was a nice day. Big shout out to the Erie Junior Bassmasters. They came out and they ran my bags for me. I was the weighmaster. So John Roski looked after the live release boat for Long Point anglers. So they did all that. I'm just the weighmaster. I just weigh the fish and call it the weights. They had volunteers for writing the numbers down. We had another gentleman who fished the event, but he came in early to help out. He did all the weights. All this is all volunteer run, everything. So it's a great, and it's right at Sandboy Marina, which is a gracious host. Over the years, they've made some incredible donations to the Long Point Bay anglers. So, and the Erie Bassmasters loaned us. Well, their junior club this year helped us, and then their scales, we used their scales from the club. So, yeah, it's a great event. But the weather was amazing. Usually this event, and we'll talk about May Long weekend weather, which is historically horrible.
Yep.
I don't know about you, Scotty, but I can remember more May Long weekends with snow and rain than I have with sunshine and stuff. So yeah, that Mother's Day, it was that Mother's Day weekend tournament. That tournament's on a Saturday, the Pike one. It's great. And the weather was nice. So kudos to all those who came out.
And I know they support us, so I thought, even though it's a week late, a good shout
Yeah.
out to those folks, because they do support us on the regular. So if that is a strictly volunteer tournament, kudos to all the volunteers that made this happen, because it looked like a very successful event indeed. So cool stuff.
Yeah, we can't do without them. So and like I said, the weather's usually really bad for that event, like usually really windy and raining. So this year it was great. It was nice to go down. I got there about noon to set up the scales, and it's rare to have to put sunscreen on at that event, to be honest. So yeah, it was good. And then geez, I on the Sunday I spent the entire day packing for this past weekend, because I was gone all week in the field wrapping up some projects. And then I came home late Thursday night, Scotty, and Friday morning we loaded straight up to Nipissing. So that was
So
one heck
this event in Nipissing that you were a part of, with, it looks like Trevor as well as Owen. Owen was up there as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this event.
Yeah, so it's the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail. Well, two events took place. It's kind of neat. The Ontario Kayak Bass Trail have their annual opening weekend event now with the opening of bass season on the May Long weekend, and we've talked about that on this show, right, Scotty?
Mm-hmm.
So with that happening on the May Long weekend, and 3 years ago, the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail said, well, let's have our opening weekend tournament on May Long weekend. It stretches out bass season from the third Saturday in June for a lot of the OKBT to an extra month of bass fishing, right? So what's cool about this event is it's all in the West Arm. So basically from Sturgeon Falls straight down, like draw a line south, and then everything to the west, or I guess I'm backwards on my camera, to the west. If I'm going west, north is up, that's north. So west to the 534, I got 534. So that's so not just the West Arm, like all the way to French River, the upper French River is all included.
Wow.
So it's a massive area. Really lots of places to stay. Like the whole place is, I'd say there's more rental cottages than private cottages in that part of Ontario. Yeah, like I was quietly impressed with just how, I've never been up the West Arm in my life. I've been Callander, and I've been over to North Bay multiple times and fishing there, and then traveling up to Temagami. I've never done the West Arm.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful scenery out there.
Yeah, it is nice, man. It's so different. Like I got studying the maps before I went up there. That's all I really had going in was just maps. And I'm looking at the charts, and I'm like, it's so shallow. It's so unique. Like you think it's a Northern Ontario lake, and it is, but it's not. It's not. Like even Owen was like, I look at the water here, Jay, and I expect it to be like deep with like lake trout and smallmouth, and it's not. It's got lots of smallmouth, but lots of largemouth, lots of walleye, lots of drum, lots of bowfin. Like it's got everything, right? So yeah, so we actually found a place to stay in Levine.
Nice.
At the just by the bridge. And what's cool about the event is that the oh nice, we're not starting. Oh, thanks, Mark George. We appreciate that. That's cool. There was 119 kayak anglers in this event from all across Ontario and Quebec. 119 anglers.
What?
Yep. Yeah, it was huge. It was a huge event. We ended up doing let me think now. So what was I going to say? So the event runs where you can launch from anywhere you're staying. So it's really cool, right? So that's kind of part of your strategy is you're like, well, if I want to fish this part of the lake, now with kayak anglers with motors now and batteries, anyone can go. Like you can go as far as you want like with batteries will allow. So some guys will run miles and miles, right? So, but weather plays in, you know, like this weekend, weather was a factor for sure for many guys. But being able to launch from your access point was great. So we were in the Levine arm, which is it's fine in there. Like I'll tell you about our fishing successes or lack thereof, but we launched right from our cottage. There's a little beach, and actually there was 4 or 5 other kayakers staying in the park where we were. And every park that we went by had kayaks added or trailers added. So the whole place was invaded by kayak anglers. It's not a very big area. Like the local pub was full of kayak anglers every night. Yeah, it was great, man. And a bunch of guys stay in Sturgeon Falls. And some guys stayed like over by the 534. Like I knew guys staying like all over that maze. So anyways, Saturday morning comes and I said to the boys, what do you want to do? Like, you know, they're all experienced enough now. They can go wherever they want. I'm not going to follow them and vice versa. So they wanted to go fish for smallmouth out in the big lake. And so they went east, and they left just about 5 minutes before I did. And we could be on the water at 5 and fishing at 6. So I wasn't feeling too ambitious, Scottie, like after my week of work. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. And I looked and I saw a bunch of kayak lights heading east. And I'm like, I'm going west. I'm going to go hide in the Levine arm. The wind was going to be bad in the afternoon. They were calling for lots of rain. So I went and hid in the arm. And dude, I went in. I lost a smallmouth in the first like 10 minutes because I didn't have my drags. I had my drag set too tight on a crankbait. I was pissed off. And then I lost another smallmouth, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And then I got exploring, and this whole Levine arm where I was, dude, it was, and Jim will love this, it's less than like the average depth in the coves was 2 to 3 feet. That's it. And it's tea stained, so you can't see the bottom, but I was just probing around with my paddle. And then it's kind of like clay bottom, but with like detritus on top, like, you know, old vegetation. And there's lily pads like coming up everywhere. And if you go on Google Earth, you'll see like in the summer, it's full of pads.
Yeah.
But the pads aren't up yet. The water's 67,
Oh,
66.
wow.
It got down to 64 on Sunday because it was so cold, but like, so mid 60s.
Wow.
And I got into the one cove and I saw fish moving around. And so I actually, this is what I threw, man. This is one of my favorite baits. So it's, well, this isn't the exact bait. It's still rigged up over there. So this is a crankbait, and it's called a Berkeley Bull. But this one isn't the one I use. The Wake Bull is what I use, and the blade is straight up and down. Okay, but like bluegill color like that and perch colored were great. I usually fish a lot of clear water, and so I fish a lot of white or like shad colors. But the bluegill was the ticket, and you can hear that rattle. Yeah. So what you do is you throw this on the surface, and it only, if you keep your rod tip up, it goes down maybe a foot with your rod tip down. With the rod tip up, it just, and so I just waked it, man, over those lily pads. And you could see all the lily pads, like you couldn't see them from a distance, but eventually I kind of figured out where these pad beds were. And you just see the green leaves. And if anyone sees lily pads before they actually float up, they're all curled, right? And then they come up and they open.
Yeah.
So I started marking lily pad patches that were under the water that I would just pedal around and look. Oh, there's one. And then I pulled off of the pad beds and I threw my wake bait and I just crawled it over top of the pad beds. And that's what I caught most of my fish on day one. Was I found 3 areas of like big areas of lily pads and some cattails in the back, but they didn't really like the cattails so much. So I used that. I used a swim jig.
Oh, nice.
A lot of swim jigs and a bladed jig. I used that. I tried some top water. I tried some other things. I used a lot of those. And on the Saturday, moving baits work better than like letting it soak. But then on Sunday, so we went from, on Saturday it was raining. bit of sun. But I joked the weather changed all day. Like we went from overcast and rain to bright sun, like 30K winds out of the north. Then it would switch to the south. And so there was points where it was calm. There was points where it was rough. It was all over the place. And then, so that was Saturday. And I got my limit on Saturday. I was at 75 inches. So I was like in like the 40s. And I'm like, out of 120, I'm like, well, I've never been here. I'm not going to complain. And then the next day, the weather was worse, right? Like it was like 3 degrees with the wind chill is -1. I had my toque. I'm glad I brought my striker ice gloves, dude. Like my good striker neoprene gloves. I'm glad I brought those. I'm glad I had base layers. Like it was cold, dude.
Yeah.
And so I went out, and because it was really windy on Sunday, I definitely wasn't going exploring. I'm like, I'm just going to go park my big butt in those lily pad beds, and I'm just going to wait those suckers out. Now, a buddy said to me that we talked to some anglers on the Saturday night. He suggested, like, I told him the pattern I was running, and he's like, don't be afraid to soak a soft stick bait on the Sunday when the weather changes. Mm-hmm. So I went to the same areas. Yeah, so I went to the same areas and used my wake bait, my swim jig. I got not a sniff. And I just picked up soft Max Scent General, Berkeley, throw it out, and I would let it just soak. And I would count to like 10, like slowly. And then I would reel it in and throw it to another spot. And it took me 3.5 hours, but I got my limit, man, on the second day. And I'll share the image I sent you guys. Oh, that's not it.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jay, this was the official standing.
Yeah. So this is the official for the three of us. So remember, 119 guys. The top limit was 192 inches. Chris Wodiak from Sudbury, he got 192 inches or 109, and Chris Totosco got just behind him. Like it was wild. Like, so you're talking a 19.5 inch average for 5 fish per day. That's what they're averaging, man. It is wild, 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 wild. Like my biggest fish was 17.25. Like I caught lots of fish, but just nothing. I needed, like, in all these events, you need 18.5 inch fish plus to have a chance.
Yep.
And my biggest was 17.25. I caught 15s and 16s. I after my first 2 mess ups on the first morning, I fished pretty clean the rest of the time. And even if I would have landed those 2 fish, it wouldn't have put me up in the top 10 where you want to be. Like I fished the best that I had. And what I mean by fishing clean is that I didn't make any more mistakes. I didn't lose fish. Like I literally, I don't know if anglers do this or not, but I do this sometimes. Like I went out prepared for a mix of smallmouth and largemouth, and I was out there and I'm in this bay and I'm in this area and I start fishing, and sometimes I'm not happy with my choices. Maybe there's a life lesson here somewhere, but I'm not happy with my choices. So Scottie, I literally looked at my rods behind me and all of my kayak, all these rods standing up, and I'm like, and I love fishing for shallow largemouth. That's what we do down here in Long Point all the time. So I said, that's it. I am changing. Like I retied probably, I think I had 9 rods. I think I retied 7. I'm like, I'm putting this fluoro reel on this rod. I'm moving this rod to this reel, and I'm moving. And then I got through my box and I'm like, I'm rigging up all my favorite shallow largemouth stuff. I said, screw it. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to fish my way, and I'm going to be stubborn about it. I'm not going to go anywhere else. There's fish here. I am convinced there's fish in this area, and I'm just going to make them bite. I'm just, because I don't know where else to go. I've never fished there. Right. So, and that's what I did. And actually, like, I don't know, man, finishing in 35th out of 120 guys and not being there before, I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. Little recap for the boys. So Trevor finished in 37th, right behind me. He actually caught a limit both days. He had a great day 1, but just kind of fell off on day 2. Owen, he was in the top 20 on day 1. That little sneaker, like he's always
Wow.
the mix. And so we had a chat Saturday night, and the wind was going to be bad out of the north, so his area is going to get hit pretty hard with wind. And I said, look, if you want to go, just go, man. Like, go compete. But I said, so even though Owen's not my son, like, I treat him like my own. So I'm like, you got a radio. I make sure you got your safety gear. You got a whistle. You got all these things with you. If you need me, you just call.
Yeah.
I will find you. Like, and so and I know that I've told John this before with the kids, like, and I mostly do this because of their moms, because the moms want to know where they are all the time.
Yep.
So I do this in all truthfulness, and I'm telling the folks this because I want to be upfront and honest. I have location available to those kids at any point in time on my phone, but I don't check it. I check it in the morning to make sure it's working, and I'll check on them at the end of the day to make sure it's working. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I do not use it to find spots. In fact, I don't want to share spots with those two vacuums anyways.
No
Like,
kidding.
like, we joke about that all the time. We rarely fish together anymore. We fish the same like lake, but we rarely fish side by side anymore because we all are too good at taking each other's fish. It happens, right? So and so it's just really important to, like, these are 17, 18-year-old kids. I know they're not little kids anymore, but we want to look out for them, right? So but truthfully, those two kids that I hang out with, and my son included, they know what they're doing out there. I trust them. I trust them to be fine. Yeah, they might flip over. Yeah, but they know what to do if something happens, right? Like, stay with the kayak, use your whistle. If your phone gets wet, that's fine. We'll find you. Don't you worry, right? So it's just important things and I think these are things that often get overlooked. But this weekend Jeff Penner was out there. He's newer to kayak fishing tournaments than the two boys, than Owen and Trevor. His mom was up there with them, so I knew Jeff's location as well. And I said to Andrea and Mark are friends of ours, and I said, I'll treat him like my own, to be honest. And if I need to go find him, I will. And that, I have the trailer in the van, and I knew where I was fishing all weekend. I was always within a couple miles of our cabin.
Mm-hmm.
I left the cabin open. I'm like, if you come in and you're cold, because you're allowed to take breaks in the kayak fishing. So I'm like, I'm leaving the cabin open. If you need something, just go get it. I'm not worried about, what are they going to steal? My toothpaste? Like, everything's in the van locked. So, like, if they want to steal my Keurig cups and like my change of clothes, go right ahead. There's nothing in the cabin worth stealing, right? So, because all the fishing tackle's in the kayak with me.
Exactly.
So, yeah, no. So, dude, it was just a good weekend. I had a really good time. I actually messaged a couple of cabin operators tonight for next year. I want to go back. Really, really enjoyed it. Great way to dust off the bass stuff and get things wet. And yeah, and George, yeah, shout out to George just for, always encouraged me to come up. George, you were right. It is quite the fishery. And it's a really neat place. Very neat place. It's very, Scottie, it's very flat up there. I never realized how flat it was. Like, it's a lot of more farmland than I thought up there.
Yeah.
So
the north shore of Lake Nipissing is the anomaly. When you're looking down at the water, you're 100 feet in the air. That's the only, because you're right. It's very similar, in my opinion, to Lake Erie. Lake Nipissing and Lake Erie are very similar in terms of their structure and makeup. I'm sure George might disagree to a certain degree, but I mean, the fact that they have 44 species available on Lake Nipissing is just another testament to how incredible of a fishery Nipissing can be. But
yeah, like I said to the boys, I said, like, we're looking at the charts and we're studying the charts and I'm like, this is just Lake Erie, man. Like, this is all a bunch of shallow water. Like, deep there is relative. Like, deep on Erie is like 20 to 30 feet. That's where you start to get deep. I know there's deeper spots, but like, we're talking average depth here, right?
Yeah.
Well, good luck trying to find 20 or 30 feet in the West Arm. There's not much of it. Like, the average depth in most places, like in where I was in Levine, which is that long arm of Levine, I think the average depth in there is like 5 feet. Like
Wow.
it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. More boats don't hit things out there, to be honest. There's lots
No
of
kidding. I've
lots
said
of
that
target,
before.
target rich environment, right? It kind of
Very
makes you
target-
think about it kind of makes you think about where to start out there, Scotty. Like
Yeah.
there's so many cabbage beds and like just it's a really cool place. Very,
So,
very cool
depending
place.
on the time of year, I would have likely have done exactly what you did, unless of course I was in search of walleye. I would have been out
Yeah.
maybe a little bit deeper, but yeah, in shallow right now. I mean, I can't imagine how many species were you catching a variety of species when you were
You
in
know
there?
what? I caught mostly large. Like I was targeting largemouth. I was catching mostly largemouth. Not a lot of smallmouth in the Levine arm that I saw, but I wasn't really targeting. I think what I found out about the smallmouth there is they really like to wander a lot, and they're in shallow and they're on sand. And if I would have taken some time to find some sand in Levine, I might have. I did catch. Well, I did lose 2 smallmouth in the morning, and I think I just didn't figure out that pattern. But I think though, like what else did I see? I got lots of pike, more largemouth than pike. I thought I'd catch more pike up there than I did. I caught enough. No one's ever happy to catch pike.
No,
Um,
not when you're in a tournament, especially.
No, I caught a walleye on a bladed jig. So
Wow.
yeah, in 3 feet of water. That walleye was in 3 feet on a bladed jig. So that was kind of neat. And you can't sight fish there because it's just way too turbid. It's just way too turbid. Like you can kind of see fish, but you can't. But then I had buddies who were out in the main lake where they had 5 to 10 feet of visibility. But that's still not clear water. Like 5 feet of visibility is not clear for what we're used to. We're talking like Simcoe or Erie. 5 feet is like when it's stirred up on Erie. You know what I mean? So,
100%.
but yeah, like a lot of the winning anglers fish for smallmouth. I think a lot of that sort of in that west arm, like so between Sturgeon Falls and Levine, there's a whole maze of islands, and it's pretty cool. But a lot of mixed bags too. A lot of guys weighed some good largemouth bags too, like top 20, top 10. There was 3 or 4 guys who pretty much focused on largemouth. So they're catching a 19-inch average size for 5 fish a day. Those are great fish, man. Like
Yeah, no
those
kidding.
are all 4 to 5 pound largemouth. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So
100%.
I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back and spend a week up there, man. Like you could fish that area for a week, and some of the cottage rates up there are cheap that time of year because it's their off season. Like they're in May. They don't really call it like official. Like their good seasons like starts in June.
Yeah.
So even though walleye opens May long weekend for a lot of the resorts, I think because the weather's unpredictable, they don't really charge a lot until you get into June. Like so, sort of June 1st until about Labor Day, they sort of charge their full price. But then if you go after Labor Day or in May, it's pretty reasonable prices, man.
100%.
It really is.
It really is. Jay, you're 100% right. Fishing walleye shallow, there really is nothing like it. It's pretty cool.
No.
Jeremy's got an interesting story. Here is a funny story. This old guy came up to me on Saturday talking about his buddy catching a 22-pound pike 3 weeks ago on a lake next to the lake I was fishing. I told him nice. He then shows me the picture his friend sent him. I informed him that the picture isn't allowed and asked him how his friend knew it was 22 pounds. He said it was weighed. Again, not allowed. He turns and says he was a conservation officer up to 9 years ago, and it never says that anywhere. I told him to look it up. I do believe that it does, depending on the area that you're in.
So you have to read the definitions, and the definition would, and what I understand is that if it says immediate release, that's immediate release. It's not take a photo. It's not put it on a scale. It's immediate release. So I know there's regulations under review, specifically around that early season bass fishing in Lake Ontario, that zone 20. There is a review because in New York, they used to have immediate release as well, and then they changed it to allow for a photograph. That you just change that wording a little bit. So if the wording was different, you might be able to hold it up. But definitely having time to hang it on a scale is not immediate release. That's for sure. So, yeah.
Very sure. Very true. And of course, it is the season for pike fishing as well as soft water. The season has actually started out here in Ontario and Quebec and places to the east. I know it's starting out in the West as well. But with that, of course, is my favorite time of year, and that is hatchery season. And I love seeing these videos. Well, this is the Saskatchewan Fish Hatchery. They do some incredible work out there, as you can see. These are all walleye eggs. They're all eyed up, and you know they're eyed up because they're dark. As soon as they go dark, you know that they're fertilized and they are eyed. The ones that are opaque or a solid white, those unfortunately are eggs that are either dead or did not get fertilized. Those you get the luxury of removing each and every day for hours on end, because if you don't remove the dead ones, they will fungicide and attach to the other good eggs, and eventually your entire bell jar, which is where all the eggs are spinning, die.
Jeez, man, the amount of work, fish culture just amazes me, man. The amount of work it takes to take care of these fish, and a lot of this is done, like, especially at the volunteer-based hatcheries. You know, like it is so amazing.
So we're going to share. It's so true, Jay, and we're going to share the video where they show how the fish are trapped and netted, and then the egg and sperm is removed them. So we're gonna be sharing that on Wednesday. They put a really cool video together, and I believe it was with a local news agency that they did it. So it's a YouTube video. It's very cool, and it will show you a lot of what you need to know if you're interested in what goes on when it comes to rearing and spawning walleye. So it's really very cool.
Wow, that's great, man. That's great. Like, yeah, it's and it's such a, there's a lot of science to it, but it's such an art as well. You know, like just hearing guys talk about fish rearing and how they can just look at things, and they know that, like, they can get data on the temperature and things like that, or the, you know, number of days, etc. But how they just know what's happening, and they have, it's like kind of like, it's a lot like farming, and just a good farmer knows, you know, when it's time to plant, when it's not time to plant, and mistakes are made, but then you learn from the mistakes and you do it again, right? Yeah.
And just like farming, Jay, I mean, unless it's a horrific weather event, you will have things that happen that are unexplainable.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, you know, there is no explanation, but every single egg in your jar is white and looks like it's stuck to cotton. And that happens overnight. And there's no explanation to it other than, geez, I was sure I put enough iodine through that system, or I was sure I took enough of those dead eggs, and without any justification, rhyme or reason, your entire jar is gone. So and of course, this gentleman, Richard Elliott, knows a thing or two, and of course is busy as we speak, having needing to tie 18 rods for tomorrow's school trip. Richard, God bless you, man. God bless you.
I don't know where he gets the energy, man, because I'm tired as who knows what.
Something that was really cool that I wanted to share with you as well. We're doing a lot of DIY stuff, or DIY tackle stuff, and I come across interesting videos that are shared. I don't know if this has any value, but I'm going to share it with you, Jay. Something unique. I've never seen this before, but I think it's really cool. Technology. So basically, it's just two swim baits on a swim jig hook. Not super unique, but something I have never seen before myself. Obviously, you've got a bobber stop there as well to hold it in place. But the advantages of this obviously shows a lot less of the terminal tackle, maybe shows schooling bait fish. Jay, would do you see this having a benefit?
I do. So I get where they're going with it, but I don't see that working very well, and I'll explain why. When you have a hook like that, that gap is designed to allow that plastic to compress for the fish to take the bait. By adding that second bait to that gap, you're closing that gap. There's not as much hook available for that hook set. So, what they might want to try is, and I think it's, where is it? Yeah, right here. This is from, if I can find this. Let me see. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see if I can show this. Share screen, window. I don't know if that'll show up or not. Yeah. So that's called your double fluke rig. So when I saw the two flukes, I'm like, that's like the double fluke. This is actually there's Liam. And there's you can tell that's Dr. Pizer right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the double fluke rig, this is a great way to imitate two bait fish. This, and you can see here, it's on a sliding swivel. So you have two swivels. One, you slide this on your line first, and then you tie this other swivel on. And basically, if anyone's worked a soft jerkbait before, you just twitch it, right? You twitch. Yep. And as you twitch it, these two baits just kind of go back and forth across each other. And I think that is a better imitation of that erratic action from both baits, especially this one, the one down here that's like a floater bait. This one gets really erratic. So,
and there's a cadence with this presentation. You really got to know how to, like, at what cadence to give it the jerk, because you're right. Like, one swims in front of the other, then the other one swims in front of the other. Like, it's quite a unique action.
Yeah, I agree.
We have shared it here before, and I remember asking Jim if he had seen something like this. Not super popular up here. I know it's a lot more popular down in the States, but who's to say that trend isn't going to change after tonight?
Sure.
Now, last but not least, of course, there is we have the CFN fish off that's going to be coming up, where Mike and I are going to be making an announcement very, very shortly. Part of that, of course, comes on the heels of the need to identify your fish. And for those who aren't 100% sure what a snakehead is and a bowfin, if you don't know the differences, Sandy Kennedy, who is a very prominent angler in our community, she does a fantastic job explaining everything you need to know about the two of them. And then we'll get Jay to add a few suggestions as well. But have a look.
My public service announcement. Now, I've been getting a lot of heat on some of my posts in certain groups. When I'm catching a snakehead, people are saying, it's not a snakehead, it's a bowfin. Number one, if you never caught a snakehead, you're probably wrong. One of the main things you'll see on a snakehead is they have a pointier head than a bowfin. The snake-like pattern, sometimes, not always, sometimes they're solid black. And the elongated anal fin, it's a dead giveaway. Hopefully I catch a snakehead and a bowfin today so I could show you the difference. So here's a snakehead. Pointy head, pattern, very long anal fin.
Now, Jay, before we go on any further, is she hit it over the head with a paddle? Like, I've never seen a snakehead this cooperative before out of water.
Yeah, I'm going to say she's probably sedated it.
Sedated it.
We use that proper term, sedated.
Because they are ferocious out of water. Like, they literally, when you get it in the boat, you might as well step up on the seat and just let it wail away in the gunnels, because it's a typical fish out of water.
Pattern, very long anal fin. Snakehead. And this is a bowfin. See? No elongated fin. There's the green fins too. It's actually spawning right now. That's a bowfin.
Well, thank you so much, Sandy, for that. And I'll tell you, it couldn't have gone any better having caught the two species. But some other takeaways as well both are very ferocious animals or fish, animals,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. They're very ferocious. So at an initial hook set, it can be a bit of a mystery as to what you've actually got on,
Yep.
because a snakehead and bowfin will literally attack your bait exactly the same. The difference, in my opinion, is a bowfin will eventually start to tire,
Yeah.
whereas a snakehead seems to have a third and fourth gear. And as I mentioned, you get them in the boat, just make sure you've got all your hooks and everything tightened up, because when that thing starts flailing around, good luck.
So I'm gonna share another photo with you, and this is a true tell giveaway for a bowfin versus snakehead. Okay,
Right on.
so this is from the Connecticut Department of Environmental Energy, but there's a bowfin. This is the underside of a bowfin's jaw. Okay,
yeah,
this is called the gular plate, or it's called a bony plate. Snakeheads don't have this feature. If you a snakehead, and I wish I could find snakehead. Well, I don't know if it's going to show up there or not. Yeah. So you see here, like you can see underneath the skull, it's vacant. Like there's like a gap, because that's where the gills are, and the gills disappear, right? So underneath the snakehead, the gills come together, kind of like you think about a pike or a muskie. Under the jaw, the gills all sort of come together. But on a bowfin, they do this, and they don't. There's a gular. It's called the gular plate, or you call it a bony plate. And bowfin have that, snakehead don't. So there are other differences with anal fin rays and all these other things. But if you really want to make certain, flip it over, look for that bony plate, and that will tell you that it's a bowfin.
It's interesting too, Jay, that you show that picture, because one of the distinctive features that a lot of folks look for is that dot on the tail, and not all bowfins will have that. That's
right.
Yeah. So sometimes you don't know what you've caught if you don't have that dot. Sometimes you mistakenly think that it's a snakehead because it doesn't, when in fact it is a bowfin, even though it just doesn't have that dot. Another question that I get asked a lot in regards to those species of fish, Jay, is one is an invasive species and one is native to most bodies of water. Which one is it?
Ask that question again.
One is an invasive species, considered invasive, and the other one is actually native to a lot of bodies of water, even though it may have been only introduced in the last 20 years.
So I think about, if we're talking about just any species, Scottie, okay. So there's different types of invasions. There's introduced, right? So that's like me putting the fish there.
Yeah.
And like we can talk about smelt in some lakes, in inland lakes in Ontario, right? Smelt were transplanted by buckets. Smallmouth bass were transferred by trains, right? Historically. So that's being introduced. There's natural invasions. So the flathead catfish moving into the Thames River, it's believed to have been a naturally invading species. It's still an invasion happening naturally. That's what happens. In the Kawarthas, the Trent Severn system, the black crappie, bluegill, a lot of them weren't transported. They moved there on their own. So there's natural invasion. So there's deliberate invasion, there's natural invasion. But like crappie are a native species that's invaded a new lake, versus you could have a non-native species like common carp invade a new lake. Do you see all these different, like,
exactly,
sort of like these are all definitions of invasive or non-native species, right? So, and well, also too, like once a fish has been in that body of water for, I believe it's 50 years, it's considered naturalized at that point. So species like rainbow trout in the Great Lakes, heck, any salmonid in the Great Lakes other than Atlantic salmon, lake trout, and lake char and brook char. Don't want to get George all riled up tonight. But I want to make sure that the other species are all introduced. So brown trout, rainbow trout, chinooks, cohos, pinks, those are all introduced to the Great Lakes. So a recent invader that's making some headlines is in the park in Algonquin. Northern pike are moving up the Madawaska River into lakes in the park that didn't used to have northern pike. And so that's going to cause some problems. But these natural invasions happen. That's how we have fish where we are. Like after glaciers left and waters receded, fish moved around on their own as lakes were connected to other lakes by rivers, and that happens. So
the only thing I will say from what I understand, Jay, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. A bowfin has naturally introduced itself a lot later back in time than the snakehead. The snakehead is relatively new to our bodies of water. Yes, it is considered an invasive, but naturally introduced. It's not something that was brought here by man.
Yeah, so in our area, this was all glaciated, right? Yeah. So when glaciers left, meltwaters connected all the lakes. And then there was also what's called isostatic rebound, where the weight of the ice was gone, so the land heaved up. So as meltwater levels dropped, and as the land rebounded, lakes and rivers became isolated, right? And so those fish that were there maybe stayed there. If there was still river connections, they would still move around. And this happened over thousands of years. There was the ice sheets just didn't suddenly disappear. This happened over time, slowly and steadily. So species like bowfin, like they're very abundant in the Great Lakes, but they moved inland as well. But it's funny how you don't see a lot of bowfin in, let's think about like the Trent Severn waterway.
Yep.
Right. So there are some bowfin, like Lake Simcoe has bowfin, but good luck finding a bowfin in, I'm trying to think now, like Balsam Lake. I don't think I can't think there's bowfin in that, and that's the top of the system, right? At the other end, there's bowfin coming up the Trent River, but I don't think they're above Campbellford. So I can't think of seeing bowfin in those areas, like in Stony Lake, or I'd have to double check. But do you see how that's an invasion that they only went so far? They might go further if they choose to, but some species tend to move more than others as well. So whereas snakehead, and this is what happens with invasives, Scottie. When invasives come in, this happens whether it's a snakehead, a goby, a zebra mussel, the population just climbs like crazy, like up exponentially. And then what happens is it plateaus, and then it'll drop a little bit, and then it'll kind of like level off. And so with snakeheads, they just have so much good habitat in the US that they're making the most of it, right? So rainbow trout are doing the same stuff to brook trout still. And we've talked about this with dams, and how dams are needed to manage sea lamprey, right? They're a great management tool. Well, you take those dams out, never mind sea lamprey, you got brook trout and brown trout that are we've heard the fights on the credit about this, right? Where they want to catch big brown trout, but you got native brook trout that are being decimated by non-native browns and rainbows. I don't object to that. Like I think, why can't we have both? Why do we have to have brown trout where the brook trout are? Because the brook trout, they can't outcompete the browns and the rainbows long term. So this is all invasive species. This is all non-native issues that happen. And whether you're a snakehead or a bowfin, or whether you're a brook trout or a brown trout, these are the problems that we're faced with invasive species. And I was listening to a couple of podcasts recently, and they've suggested that in the US, possibly invasive species are the greatest leading cause of fisheries decline. And that includes, and because of snakeheads, because of you've heard about the Alabama bass. We've talked about this, where they're moving all around. People are moving them, and they're decimating. Once they start to interbreed with smallmouth, the smallmouth are just wiped out. And now you're left with all these tiny Alabama bass that don't get big like the smallmouth did. And so even though Alabama bass in certain rivers are native, they're moving around because people are doing it. Like that's an invasive species problem. And I think invasive species are probably one of the biggest risks to our ecosystems of any other species, because it throws everything out of whack. That includes smallmouth and walleye in the wrong places. Like there's my buddy lives in Wyoming. There's rivers in Wyoming where the brook trout are being decimated because of an invader. And this invader, and there's literally thousands of them. It's burbot. Like, there's so many burbot. They're having burbot derbies to get rid of the burbot because they're killing all the native strains of trout in upper like mountain streams in Wyoming. Burbot, Scottie.
Who would have known? Who would have thought?
Pumpkin seed in Europe are problems. Like this is like, it's not just we get caught up in the news with snakeheads and sort of like the fear of the monster fish, right? I think probably pumpkin seed and rock bass have done more harm than snakehead ever will, to be honest.
I have to agree.
Right? Yeah.
Soon it will be goldfish. No, I'm just kidding. But
they're all problems, man. And I think I think that we get caught up in some of the media about this, and we should, but we need to look at the full perspective that what is native and what's not native, right? And how does that affect our ecosystems? So,
very true. Jay, as always, my friend, I so value your time, and I know you've been busy. Was it a success? Your work?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a great success. I look forward to going back.
Good.
I really enjoyed the idea of going bass fishing a month before I would normally go bass fishing. Truly, like I've just now extended my season by an entire month, and if I could, and it's not a matter of like, it's not really so much because the cost of living up there is cheap this time of year. Like to go for a week is not the most expensive trip. It's just finding the time. But I'd love to go. I'd love to go up there and spend a week and explore. There's so much to explore up there. So yeah.
Jay's saying that burbot is coming through on the caption as bourbon.
I lost your audio. Get your audio.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah, it's quiet.
Oh, wow. Well, Jay, thank you so much for all of your time. You have yourself a great week, my friend, and we will talk to you. Peace. And that is the end of our show. Again, we missed our good buddy Lawrence. Thanks to Jim and Jay. Hopefully everybody's had a great May-long weekend. Yes, it is coming to an end. And for some, unfortunately, it is coming to an end, whether you like it or not. If you're a Leafs fan, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Montreal. Yeah, the Canadian boys are done, except for the Edmonton Oilers. So go Oilers, go. Looking forward to seeing you go deep, deep, deep into these playoffs. Now that none of us else are around, we look forward to seeing your successes, and we wish you all the best, as I do each and every one of you this week. It is a short week, so hopefully you got out and enjoyed a weekend of fishing. If not, you get to do it again this weekend. I'm going to be fishing with our good buddy Moose. It is the Canada-U.S. Walleye Tournament. It is happening this weekend up on Sturgeon Lake. So looking forward to spending some time with my good buddy Moose. But in the meantime, I want to wish all of you a great week. Have yourselves a wonderful time. Enjoy that weather. Get out and wet a line. Love you all. Stay safe. Dave, it's time to take us away. All the best, guys. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.